Welcome back to Around the 32. The league is moving fast, and tonight we're catching up on a Week 2 slate that gave us chaos, statement wins, computer upsets, and some real movement across the AT32 landscape. Week 2 was one of those weeks where the scoreboard tells a story by itself. We saw users handle business, we saw users survive, and we saw more than a few coaches get humbled by the computer in ways that are definitely going to follow them into the next power rankings. Washington made one of the loudest statements of the week with a dominant win over Texas A&M. Oregon held off Oklahoma State in a big user matchup. Michigan took care of Oklahoma. Notre Dame kept rolling. And then on the other side, Cal, Virginia Tech, Eastern Michigan, Indiana, and Houston all found themselves in some kind of fight with the computer. Some survived, and unfortunately some didn't. Tonight we're going to break down the AT32 Week 2 scoreboard, look at the power rankings, touch on recruiting, preview the major Week 3 matchups which at the time of the recording has already taken place, and we'll sit down with one of the coaches who unfortunately was on a bad side of a computer matchup. The league's moving, the rankings are shifting, the storylines are getting louder. 32 coaches, 32 programs, one dynasty. This is college football our way. Let's dive into Week 2. We're going to look at the scoreboard to start this thing off, as we always do. And one of the games that I was really excited about was Washington over Texas A&M. If you watched last week's recap, whenever we previewed this game, I mentioned that I didn't really know the Texas A&M user, but I felt like Eddie at Washington had a really good shot here. He's one of those guys who doesn't really get enough credit for being as solid of a user as he is, and I feel like it's because not many people have really played him. He's kind of held back by Washington's roster in some ways, and he's still fairly new. I think maybe he played 4 or 5 seasons last cycle. He's one of those guys that's very quiet, not really in chat very much. He doesn't do a lot of trash talking, but man, he is very, very solid. So this outcome does not surprise me one bit, regardless if I knew the Texas A&M user or not. I was pulling for Eddie here. He's one of those guys that's a dark horse for me. Coming out of the Big Ten, I know that every conference has some massive talent in it. And it's going to be a challenge for him. But I'm excited to see what he can do, for the rest of the season after a win like this, and for the rest of the cycle. Next up, we have Oregon defeating Oklahoma State 38-28. This is another one that I previewed last week in the recap, where I questioned if the talent of Oregon's team would be enough to get them past the stick skills of Oklahoma State's user. Zach is a really solid user, but Oklahoma State's user he is good. Whenever we played in the Big Ten, I think we played 3 or 4 times. He was BYU, I was Louisiana, and he just kind of demolished me every time we played. So I'm curious to see how he turns it around at Oklahoma State, and I want to see Zach kind of carry this momentum throughout the season. Ride it with Oregon. We've seen him in years past play as some of the lower level teams, and he's done well enough, but his team overall he's another one that it's kind of always held him back a little bit. So finally having a powerhouse, I'm curious to see how he handles the pressure as well as the talent. The next game is one that I don't think surprises really anybody. It's Michigan 34 over Oklahoma 7. Um, Oklahoma's user he's a really good guy. Uh, not many people, I don't think, have the privilege of speaking to him often. Um, but he's a really good guy, and you hate to see it, happen to him, that he gets put in the SEC uh, with some other really solid users. Uh, last year being Kentucky, he couldn't really cut it there. He had to move Kentucky into, I think he went into the CUSA. Um, and I know from speaking to the commissioners that that's probably not going to be allowed this year. So hopefully he can at least make Oklahoma respectable. After a loss like this against Michigan, who again is a really good user. That's our previous Oklahoma user, who was a mainstay in SEC fights last year. Uh, so hopefully he can right that ship a little bit as time progresses. And the last user versus user game is one that I know some people are looking at and um, thinking that this is a humbling that needed to happen, with Notre Dame defeating UCLA 59-28. UCLA is one of those guys that he's very new to the league. This is his first season in, and he came in, pretty hot. You know, a lot of trash talk, a couple rivalries early on. Um, so people were very curious about what he'd be able to do. And listen, I understand the team overall is very different. Notre Dame is a powerhouse, and UCLA just quite frankly isn't. But from everything that I've seen, the same can be said for the users. Bobby is a powerhouse, and I am talking about on the sticks and off them. Um, and UCLA so far is showing something to be desired as far as skill goes. I know that he's had at least one regs win, but that doesn't count in the league. So we need to see something from him. I don't think he's won a game yet, so we'll see if the trash talk continues. He's been a little bit quiet lately. I don't think he's sent a message in the last few days. Moving on to look at the computer games, which we have had a lot of discussion about over the last few days, and I feel like that's going to continue over the span of the season and maybe even the cycle of the game if nothing is done to correct some of the AI in this game. We have still a fairly new game. The devs could still make major updates to gameplay. Whether that would affect our league or not, I don't know. But I don't think that sliders will be touched. I don't know. I don't have any insider information on that. I have not discussed that with Hooked or Sticks, but I just don't see that happening. I don't see them as the type that wants to do that type of thing. And personally, I think that that's okay, because we need a little bit of parity, right? We can't just have guys that are going through their season, playing 2 or 3 user games and just demolishing their computers, running scores up to win awards races and things of that nature. And then the second they play a user, they just kind of fold, and then you end up getting a very badly matched playoff game, and where somebody's just pretty much given a free buy. So I think it's got its goods and its bads, and this is coming from somebody who lost a computer game last night, which we'll talk about with the Week 3 recap. But diving into those games, we have Cal, who's a very solid user. Steven Sosa, he was on our interview last week, dropping one to Syracuse, 38-21. Eastern Michigan, dropping to Michigan State 24-21. Virginia Tech. Gotta love it. We have something special for him coming up right after the scoreboard that I think most people will appreciate, as he's kind of a polarizing figure in our league. Um, he dropped to Old Dominion 21-10. Tennessee pulls out a close one, 31-28 against Georgia Tech. I think Tennessee is the user there, right? Um, I don't I don't know that we have a Georgia Tech user. Uh, Houston barely squeezing by an FCS team, 38-31, and then the game that we will be talking about with our interview, Indiana dropping a game to Missouri State, 25-14. I'm very curious to see how Indiana's head coach feels about this game and everything that he has to say. You just know he's going to have some fiery responses. Some stuff that he's going to say is probably going to be controversial. It's going to get the league talking. It's going to make people excited. And a lot of people might be rolling their eyes or licking their chops after this one. Moving on, Virginia Tech, got to do it to you, buddy. Coach quote of the week. He sent this meme that says "I'm trash," and his quote is tagging Indiana's head coach at the Signetti Reds, and I with us losing to bum computers. So again, we go back to that scoreboard where he lost to Old Dominion 21-10, and Indiana lost 25-14 to Missouri State, and I just thought that was funny. I thought it was something that needed to be included in this. I'm sure he's gonna get a kick out of it, and other people might kind of like that one also. Hopefully, some of us can get those computer games turned around, and the rest of them can experience what we're experiencing now. And without further ado, we're gonna dive in to our interview with Indiana's head coach, B. Goins. How's it going, my man?
What's up, Eric? How are you?
Ah, man, I am here. I'm making it, and we're a little bit behind on these recaps. I'm trying to catch up, but the league is moving fast, man. We probably moving as fast as we've ever have, uh, and it's kind of a struggle to keep up with these things.
Heading into week 4 already.
Yeah, yeah, it's
It feels like we were waiting for launch day.
yeah, just
You
yesterday,
know,
right?
yeah, it's kind of crazy.
All right, man, let's dive into this thing. So coming into the season, Indiana had a lot of hype around the roster, expectations, and honestly, some of your own confidence. Then week two happens. Missouri State comes in, kind of kicks your teeth in, 25-14. What happened there, man?
We ain't gonna win a game with 5 turnovers. 5 interceptions ain't gonna get it done. Um, we had a lot of drives that started really really strong, and then I felt like I was trying to close the deal a little bit too early. I was trying to score from 25 ish yards out. Maybe I got a little overconfident in the opponent that I was going in, and just didn't finish the job a couple times. I think at 2 different drives I got stopped at the one. Yeah, I just didn't finish the job. That 14 points is a long 14 points. If you look at the offensive statistics on both sides, we dominated every facet of the ball until the fourth quarter, and then just didn't finish drives, didn't score when it mattered.
So it was pretty much a classic case of coming in, underestimating your opponent, trying to do a little bit too much whenever you should have just played sound football, kept it simple, and walk out with a W, huh?
Sure enough, and we were screaming on defense for 3 quarters, for 3.5 quarters, really. We had them locked down in man coverage. They didn't cross the 40-yard line for 3.5 quarters. And then it just there was a snowball effect that took place. They got a pick on me late, um, scored pretty quickly, and then a late interception at the end got it back in scoring position. That's where the 25 came from. But It was just a case of we didn't get the job done early, and it bit us in the back, and then in the butt late.
Just to clarify, you played full game or was it offense only?
I played every down.
Okay. So after the game, you said you got the computer back. I'm assuming that's referencing week three. But was this game one of those where it felt like um, everything kind of snowballed because you only put up 14. I know you said your defense was kind of on point. You didn't allow them to cross the 40 until the fourth quarter. Um, or was it more about like the missed chances, not finishing drives? Maybe you couldn't see the field very well. Like you said, taking chances that you probably wouldn't have taken against a better opponent. Um, what do you think was the big driving factor in this loss?
I could have settled for more. I could have settled for 3 points at times where I just decided to go for it. I was like I said, I got stopped inside the 5 twice, and try to buy a touchdown on it instead of just taking the points. If I would have taken field goals in those, it probably would have been a different ball game. Um, our running game was scorching, and I abandoned it, which was a mistake on my end. I was trying to try some new passing concepts and things that I hadn't really gotten some reps in on. BB was on a tear. He had 40 yards in the first drive, and I finished the game I think with 9 or 10 carries for BB, and it was just a me kind of getting in my own way early on. And then, yeah, I think the snowball effect is a good thing to mention. In that fourth quarter, once I realized that I was kind of actually in a dogfight, because I don't think I felt like I was in a dogfight until we hit the fourth. Once I actually realized that it was too late, and then I threw an interception, on a pass that I wish I could get back. I was trying to take a deep ball on a shift play, and then they go right down and score. Then I again felt like, okay, I can still get it back. And then sure enough, I try to do a rollout, throw a Texas route, and Josh Hoover sails it, goes right to the safety, and that was all she wrote.
Man, that's tough. That is. Whew. I'm sure that one stayed with you for quite a while after that game.
It was humbling. It taught me some things.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So, Indiana was sitting pretty high in the AT32 power rankings early on, and you kind of dropped, right? So, like you said, it's a little humbling. So, do you think the loss was a wake up call, or do you look at it more like, it's one bad week. League's overreacting. I'll bounce back. It's early in the season. We're still Indiana. Like, ah, it'll be fine.
It's one bad week. We're still a bunch of bad MFers. We're still absolutely loaded on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. This team, when it executes, can stand toe to toe with anybody. This was just a bad week, and it's. I promise you, this is not going to happen again.
I expect nothing different. That is the exact answer that I thought I would get from you. Maybe even a little bit more fiery than that. Um, so, what do you think's the biggest thing you need to clean up before the user games start getting a little bit heavier on the schedule? Because you're in a pretty tough conference.
I think you look at how people played. I made this analysis a lot. I made the I was on the game of the week call this past week for Bobby's game against or for Reese's game against Houston. And one of the things that I mentioned, and I'll keep mentioning, is that if you look at how people played 26, a lot of people were able to bust it open and take shots. A lot of people learned how to kind of metagame the defense in 26, and manufacture a lot of shot plays, deep balls, stuff like that. Were able to manipulate uh, the defense and get them what they want. I think my biggest thing was I got a little bit too comfortable doing that, and I have to go back to one of the things that I characterize myself on is taking what's being given to me. and not trying to go too far and not trying to, make something that's turn something that's not there into something. I need to take those underneath routes. I need to use those timing routes. I need to run the ball, on your early downs a lot more. I have to go back to just the fundamental facets of football, ball control, offense. Those are the things that I kind of lost my way at the end of the 26 cycle, and I need to bring it back.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I kind of touched on something similar to that in the server a couple days ago. That this game in particular, I feel like you have to really know ball in order to be good at it, right? You can't just go in there and look up the meta and throw crossers and drags all game long, and just expose the computer's defense because you can wait for somebody to come open, right? The computer defense is so much smarter now. You have to actually be able to go through your progressions. You have to be able to read that defense pre-snap. Um, there are things that could potentially need to be cleaned up, like offensive line blocking assignments and intelligence there. And for me personally, I think the biggest thing is uh, computer offenses. I think computer defense is in a great spot right now, and if they touch it one way or the other, it could be detrimental to the game itself. Either you're going to revert back to the way that it was in CFB6, or it's going to be completely unplayable. I think it's in an amazing spot right now. The thing that I feel like needs to be toned down is the intelligence of computer offenses, because then you have guys that FCS quarterbacks that look like Tom Brady going 28 for 29 for 400 yards. It's kind of ridiculous.
If you go back and watch my game against Missouri State, you'll see that kind of case in point in that fourth quarter. I had every single answer to what they were trying to do on offense for 3.5 quarters, and then I couldn't stop anything. We couldn't stop a nosebleed for that last 3 minutes or so of the game. It was like that completely different team that I was playing. So I would agree with that to a sense. I mean, I still think the loss is on me just because I didn't get up. I didn't score and I needed to score. But I did notice a lot of that at the end of that Missouri State game, was that it just seemed like the offense clicked on, and I couldn't do anything. I didn't have an answer even when I was calling the perfect counters to what they had going on. I was matching their personnel. I had, I have a pretty good sense for how to stop, pretty much any look on offense. And I couldn't do it then after I did it for 3.5 quarters. And I think there's yeah, I think there's definitely something to that.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't really matter what you call. They're gonna beat it. Um, but moving along, since you've entered this league, you've been one of the loudest voices here. And then during the selection show, you get Indiana. There's a lot of hype there. After taking this loss, do you still feel the same way about Indiana being a problem in the Big Ten? I mean, do you remember this coach quote that we put out, right after the selection show? That big long write up, man, got a lot of attention. A lot of people really loved it. A lot of people really hated it. Um, I love the personality that you bring here. Is that something that you continue to have after this loss, or are you a little bit more cautious with stuff like that?
Man, I've taken losses in the past plenty of times, and I still don't lose my swagger. And I'm not going to do that here. I don't care who I lose to one week or the other. I still haven't played a user in this. I still got a lot to prove there, and I very much plan on proving it. I'm plan on proving the fact that I believe that I am not one of the mid tier users. I'm not one of the best users in here, but I'm definitely a lot better than that loss. And I'm not slowing down. This freight train keeps rolling because I fully believe in myself and my abilities. I will go back and refer to that quote. If anybody wants some, they can absolutely come get some. I've got Reese coming up in a couple weeks. I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be my first real test in this league. I still got some other people with. I got some circles and checks on some games that I definitely plan on maybe bending the league rules on a little bit, and that's fine because I'm here, and we plan on striking hard in this season. We plan on striking hard in the portal. We plan on striking hard in recruiting. We're not going anywhere. Indiana is going to be around for a long time.
that matchup against Reese is one that I'm very excited about. I have that one circled off on my calendar for sure as one to watch. I would love if we could get that as a broadcast game. I just feel like that's going to be fireworks. I'm extremely excited for that one.
I
Uh,
gotta get one on them. I
dude,
gotta get one on them. We've had 3 games. We had 3 games, 2 of them at FSU, and then one at Notre Dame. And every single time, no, we've never mind. All 3 of ours were at FSU, and every time it was a last drive by Reese that got me. I gotta get one on him.
he is so good. You know, in my personal opinion, probably top five in this league. Um, and the fake humility gets me every time.
He knows, man.
Yeah, he
He
knows. He
knows.
he has to know, right? So wrapping up, man. Do you have a message for everybody who's been waiting to clown you? You know, after the Missouri State loss, do you have anything else you want to add? Any just anything that you want to get off your chest here? Floor's
Say
yours.
anything you want to say in the main chat. Say anything. Say anything. Tag me in it. Do whatever you want. Do anything you got to do to make yourself feel better. Because I know that when out of conference season rolls around, if you ain't in the out of conference request tab and you ain't tagging me in it, your words are empty. Get in that out of conference request tab. Let's make it. Let's prove some points on the field. Let me see what you got. I'm looking at you, Virginia Tech. Eddie, I haven't beat you yet in regs. I'm looking at you, Eddie. Get in there. I'm looking at you. I hear you. I see you. If you got anything to say in that main chat, you make sure you save the Signetti Reds and put them in the out of conference request tab because I promise you, we will have our chance to put our money where our mouth is. Be happy clowning you now because it ain't gonna last you.
Absolutely, man. This interview was everything that I expected. Maybe a little bit more toned down than I thought it would be. But if there's one thing that I know for sure is that you're not gonna run from any call out, any matchup. You're gonna take on anybody that wants a little piece of it, man.
Yeah,
I
I tell you what, I'll make a personal call because you called out Virginia Tech. I'm gonna call out Virginia Tech because you're overdue a 70-7 loss, brother. I don't even know if I'll let you get 7. I'll let you get 3 on a lucky field goal if you want to. I'm looking at you, Virginia Tech. Get in there. Get in there. Get on that out of conference request tab. Let's play a week 0 game. The last week 0 game I was given did not go well for Alabama, so it's up for you, buddy.
Put it on the board. Put it on the board. We have to watch it. Uh, Man, it's been a pleasure interviewing you. We got to get you on another broadcast soon. Uh, as always, man. Good luck for the rest of the season, and I just know that you're gonna turn it around, and this loss isn't gonna stay with you too long.
No, sir. I appreciate you having me, Eric, and we'll see you on the other side.
Alrighty, man. Thank you. All right, moving on. We have recruits. Finally, we have recruits. You guys did not submit these, but luckily, we have a way of seeing them anyway. So, Colorado is currently leading all recruiting with 2 3 stars, um, wide receiver, and a wheel. Uh, don't really know too much else about any of these guys except for what we see right in front of us. Um, but I know that getting week 2 recruits is huge. It's a big momentum booster. You want to be able to start building that program early, get that NIL in, get those hours back so that you can continue to stack them on top of others. Uh, Texas bringing in a Mike, 6'2", 234, 4-star guy. Um, I mean, it's Texas, right? If Texas brings in a single 3-star in this cycle, um, I think he under recruited, right? Texas Tech, Reese, we were just talking about him bringing in a left edge. This dude looks like a monster. I wish I knew his stats. 6'4", 256. Gotta love the dreads. Growing up, there was this running joke that if a player had dreads, that means he was cold. So I'm curious to see what this guy's future holds at Texas Tech. And then Clemson has a 6 foot 181 receiver, 4-star guy. Um, yeah, there's not much more that we need to say about that. You guys need to be getting those commits in. I know that Eddie submitted a couple in for the end of week 3. So I'm excited to move on and do that recap. Hopefully have that out to you guys by tomorrow night. Maybe, hopefully, before we advance past week 4. The league has been flying. It's been kind of hard to keep up, man. Uh, but I'm excited, and we're gonna see the way that this continues to pan out with NIL and um, who overspends and who underspends. Next up, we have the topic everybody loves to hate: power rankings. Um, Not a lot of movement at the top of the board. Uh, we had some teams win. Notre Dame and Michigan both won their games. Michigan beating an SEC team in Oklahoma is big, but the level of skill that Oklahoma's user has, I feel like just doesn't quite warrant the jump over Notre Dame. Um, Even though Notre Dame beat our 32nd ranked team in the power rankings, UCLA, uh, so I feel like that's about right. Texas Tech, I feel like it's gonna move a little bit next week, with the win that he had over Houston, but for now he stays put in 7. Oregon with the big jump with his win over Oklahoma State. 7 might be one of the bigger jumps of this cycle. Looks like it. Yeah, Utah at 22 jumped 8 spots. Um, a couple more notables. UCF up 4. North Carolina down 3. Um, Florida drops 2. Uh, and I think that's because of the shuffling going on around there. Listen, guys, what you guys may not know is that these power rankings, I don't have much input in this. This is all AI. All right. The first initial power ranking was all me. It was me based on stick skill, team overall, situation, conference, uh, availability. Recent success. How available you were in the past. There was so much that I took in the stock to put this together, and from there, I just gave AI all of the results week in and week out, and AI decides what the movements are. Um, so that's why sometimes you'll see some of the stuff that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Why this one rose and that one fell, and uh, I tweak it a little bit here and there if I feel like somebody fell a little bit too hard or if they rose a little bit too high. Um, then I'll tell it like, hey, you have to correct that a little bit. But for the most part, guys, this is out of my hands. And I like to be able to see what AI is going to do with the results that we give it. um, for example, Indiana only fell 4 spots, which some would argue that maybe he should have fell more. Cal, after the big win in week 1, falls 11-19 in this one. Clemson falls 4. And if we go back and look at the scoreboard, oh, I don't have Clemson there. Okay, so I'm not sure why that fall was. Uh, but Clemson's user is actually pretty solid. I'd have him somewhere closer to oh wait no I think this is the game that Clemson couldn't make. There's been something going on with his schedule lately. I don't think that he's been able to make a game yet, and he had to give up the forced loss against LSU. I think that's what happened here, and the forced loss, him giving up that forced loss, dropped him 4 spots, even though he didn't play it, because those things impact power rankings as well. If you don't play your game, if you don't show up for a user game, if you don't play your computer game, it's not only impacted on um, in-game rankings. You know, if you win that game or lose that game due to fair sim, but it's also impacted here because I tell AI all of that. You know, I tell AI that Clemson didn't show up for his game, so LSU got the forced win. So LSU doesn't get a bump necessarily for beating Clemson, but Clemson drops because he didn't show up, right? Um, so that's the way that the power rankings are done. So Alabama, next time you want to call me out for ranking myself above you, even though you own the head-to-head record, thank AI. And by the way, you're one above me now, so congratulations. Week through 3 preview. It's kind of pointless to really touch on this because as of the time that this is going to be published, week 3 is in the books, so we're not really going to look at it. I'm going to get started on the week 3 recap and hopefully have that out to you guys by this time tomorrow night. And hopefully, we don't get another 24-hour advance so that I can catch up a little bit. But if so, the league's rolling, so we can't really complain too much about that. We're gonna wrap it up. Uh, this has been one of our longer recap shows so far. But that's going to do it for week 2. Uh, week 2 gave us exactly what this league needs: storylines, right? We don't want anything boring. We don't want it to get stale. Uh, and it was anything but in week 2. We had statement wins, ugly losses, close calls, no shows, bounce backs, and a power ranking board that looks like a lot of red and green. Um, Washington proved it deserves more respect. Indiana learned the computer does not care about preseason speeches. Oregon keeps building. Notre Dame is on a tear. Florida State, still our king, right? Still sitting at the top. And then across the league, we have coaches that are starting to find out every week can change the way people look at your program. And that's the whole point. Every game matters. Every quote matters. The rankings matter. The stories matter. Your recruits matter. Everything that you put into this league matters. Because this league is not just about advancing weeks and playing games. It's about building something that people actually want to follow. It's about the community. It's about everything underlying, right? That's why we can lose computer games and still be able to get a kick out of it with one another, because this community is so close knit, it's so tight. And it's not just play a game, click a button, turn it off, forget about it, walk away, come back, play another game later. This league is something bigger, right? And it's special. Week 3 is already moving. Hell, week 3 is already done. We had major games, ranked showdowns, conference battles, more chances for somebody to either prove the rankings right or tear the whole board apart. We're going to touch on that in the next episode. But in the meantime, keep sending in those scores, commits, screenshots, quotes, clips, reactions, anything that helps bring this league to life. You guys are what makes this amazing. You are what makes this league drive. If there's no communication, if there's no participation, there is no immersion. Every bit of this, everything that we're doing with Around the 32 is to give you guys something bigger. And I hope that you enjoy it as much as I enjoy bringing it to you, as much as Hooked and Sticks enjoys bringing it to you. We love the direction that this league is going, and we hope that it just continues to take off from here. But in the meantime, we are 32 coaches, 32 programs, one dynasty. And this is college football our way. Around the 32, wrapping up. See y'all next week. Thank you for watching.